All right, hello everyone. Thanks for coming to, I know, an additional meeting this round. So we'll do a call to order. Attendance. So Bill Lesage back.
Suzanne Dirksen back.
Sean Lewis, City Manager's Office.
Jenny Nolan, Budget Manager.
Tyson Thornburg, Budget and Financial Analyst.
Kevin Ingles, Finance Director.
Evan Mandel, back alternate.
Victor Rochelle, Director of Public Works.
Rachael, Budget Advisory.
And online.
Jay Knight, Budget Advisory Committee.
All right, thanks, Jay. All right, so do we have a motion to approve the March 26th meeting minutes?
So moved.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, all approved. All in favor?
Aye.
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 No opposed. Okay. All right, well, I think we're ready. So today is Public Works. Victor.
Yeah. All right, thank you, Tyson. Appreciate you guys having us here today. So we're going to cover a couple of things. We'll do the 2023 wrap up. We'll talk about our infrastructure and transportation outcomes, quick department overview, go over all the budget, and then open it up for questions. So first up, our outcome area here. So for Public Works, per the strategic plan, a city that we're proactively and in a cost-effective manner investing in maintaining infrastructure, improving, et cetera. Quick overview of the department. So you got our mission and vision here. Again, that's to promote and ensure high quality of life, economic vitality, unique, desirable community through our delivery of programs, maintenance, services, et cetera. And then I won't read the next one to you, but that's our vision there. A quick overview of our structure. So we're really split into operations and maintenance and engineering. These are our three core teams. We have our engineering and asset management. They cover right-of-way permitting, design, capital projects, traffic engineering, and street maintenance is under that branch. Operations and maintenance is covering facilities, maintenance, custodial, traffic operations, and so that's the maintenance of the traffic signals. Stormwater actually reports to operations and maintenance, but they do a lot as well. They do the maintenance of our stormwater system as well as our MS4 permitting, which is a state requirement. They manage that. They also manage compliance. We get Q alert reports of what are known as illicit discharges, people dumping stuff into the storm sewer that ultimately ends up in South Platte. That's a big no-no. So our stormwater team looks to manage that compliance as well. So here you got a overview of our general fund. So we do have several enterprise funds within Public Works. This is the summary for 2023. The big takeaway here is we're returning a decent amount of funds. And as you can tell, looking at the slide, the top line, we have over $500,000 in vacancy savings. We had several positions throughout Public Works that remained vacant throughout the year. We had some that were only vacant part of the year, including some higher level positions. Our Deputy Director of Operations and Maintenance was vacant for a few months. We had the city engineer was vacant for a few months. We have turned the corner on that, so I would anticipate vacancy savings dropping substantially into next year. Actually, this past Monday, we had 4 new Public Works folks start, including our new traffic engineer, which was a new budget item in 2024. So that wasn't in this mix, the traffic engineer. But we're happy to have that person on board, and we're filling other vacancies. I would say our big challenge is that frontline staff. It's the maintenance worker, it's the custodial worker, the frontline folks. Commodities, we also, sorry, Tyson. Commodities, we also had a decent amount there that's being returned. That's all the products and things that we're buying. We do maintain all of the city buildings. That's where that's coming from. Contract professional services, that's in the negative, and that's offsetting our lack of staff. So because we didn't have staff, we had to rely on contractors for some services, and that's really where that got hit. Capital, pretty close. We had some projects there, budget overruns with labor cost increases and contractor markups, et cetera. So yeah, overall, a hair under 500,000 returned to the general fund. So quickly touching on some department metrics. So these are our strategic plan goals for 2024, broken down into quarter. Up first on this slide is our reducing flooding risk. So that falls to our stormwater engineering team underneath the Deputy Director of Engineering and Asset Management, as well as stormwater and our maintenance. So this year we're mapping the southern half of the city. So we're going to be mapping all stormwater pipes and running a camera through them, getting that into our GIS, checking the condition and cleaning are some big goals there. On the transportation side, transportation safety is huge for us this year, especially now that we have a traffic engineer on board. Vision Zero is something that we're really aiming to get buttoned up this year, as well as neighborhood traffic calming. I'm trying to get a program stood up there, working with the Inglewood Transportation Advisory Committee to get those things done. And a couple more on here too. Working with schools, working with PD, identifying high accident areas and trying to address those through engineering methods where possible. Multimodal, always trying to increase multimodal options within the community. Dialing down, trying to get away from a vehicular-centric network, providing sidewalk connectivity, widening our sidewalks, providing bike lanes, looking at micro mobility. That could be electric scooters, and trying to look at a program there. So again, having that traffic engineer on board, a lot of what you're seeing up here was all focused around transportation and traffic. And without having that expertise in-house, we weren't able to advance that. So we're super excited. My traffic engineer is on day 2. Shared all these slides with him, and we'll see. I'm sure he'll be here tomorrow. So
Does the trolley, the new, I know we just came out with a new one, right? The van. Does that fall kind of under this slide?
So parts of it are in here. So the trolley program is run through community development. Public Works has some input there. Public Works runs the service center, so we do all the vehicular maintenance.
Sorry, that's somebody here.
Yeah, I can get them.
Actually,
They're out the front door there?
Yeah, James.
James.
One second.
sorry.
You're right.
I would have gotten it. If I can open the door,
Well,
though.
we could all go out together.
We could do that. You're questionable.
Hey, James. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Get a little temperature difference, cool off for like a split second. Already toasty in this room.
I wonder who's some facilities and air conditioning.
Saw that staffing level issue?
Well, we're gonna prioritize that on the report to council.
Okay, I like it. Need to get some new zone controls. So on this one, talking about vehicular infrastructure, again, looking at, these are our capital projects within the city. Broadway, we have a couple of complete street grants. You'll see those on here. Those are all in process. We got a grant money from Dr. Cog. Those projects have all kicked off in the design phase with contracts just being issued first of this year, so.
And so I would assume like the survey that just came out from EDDA would like fall into your realm as well, right? And like, I know some of it's more landscaping and things like that, but like parking I know was on there and things like that. Is that kind of?
Yeah, so EDDA, I meet with Hillary pretty regularly, and she's a stakeholder in our Complete Streets process. So Complete Streets, for those of you that aren't familiar, is again, kind of getting away from that vehicular-centric layout and really enhancing the pedestrian experience, giving a higher level of service, LOS, for pedestrians, wider buffers, improved landscaping, better parking, better lighting, and making it usable for all users, whether it's ADA accessibility, micro mobility, people walking, et etc. And then, of course, clean and connected transportation. So always looking for ways to improve that. We are working on some charging stations within the city at a couple of our sites. All right, so enterprise fund, SURF, the capital equipment replacement fund. So this is the fund that Public Works uses to replace vehicles. So what we do when we purchase a vehicle, we take the price of the vehicle and divide it by the expected life use. And they're different, right? Because PD, I will say, is harder on vehicles than an inspector. So a PD vehicle is expected to last much shorter. And so that department then pays into SURF the value of that so that at the end of the life for the vehicle, there's money for a replacement. So we were slightly under this year. We had a bunch of vehicles come in 2023, including our snowplows, which were significantly overdue by a year and a half. So that's the delta there. So a little bit under. The fund has plenty of money to cover it, but we were a little under over our budget there. Concrete utility. So the concrete utility is where the city replaces concrete within the community. Residents and businesses can opt out. Most do not. They pay into it. So what we do there is basically we're replacing broken sidewalk, heaved sidewalk, curb and gutter that's damaged, things like that. Here you'll see two line items. You got, again, the salary, since we were down staff, and then capital projects. So next year we are getting out in front of our street paving and repairing sidewalk. So that number will be down significantly and in line with expectations in 2024. Stormwater fund. So this one, again, you got the personnel salary number, but the big thing to take away from this one is money in this fund is for large projects, and we just kicked off the South Inglewood flood reduction project. So you may have seen some updates on social media. We completed Site A, which is lining the Oxford pipe. Hopefully everybody's forgot about the sinkhole, but in case you didn't, we had a large sinkhole in Oxford last year, and we lined that pipe all the way down to the outfall. So that'll be coming out of here. And then Site B is our 25-year detention pond. We bought a large piece of property just south of Oxford, and this active construction right now. They're literally digging the hole, and then we'll be starting tunneling soon. They're going to trench and tunnel all the way over to Rotolo Park, and any storm drainage that comes into Rotolo Park will now go to the 25-year detention pond that is known as Site B for South Inglewood flood reduction. So that 15 million will not be there next year. We anticipate both projects being complete, Site B or Site A already being done, but Site B being complete by the end of the year, which is a huge project for the city. So it's super exciting. Service center fund, as I mentioned, the service center is where we house all of our operations and maintenance. The service center is shared with parks and the utilities team. PD's even got some stuff out there too. We maintain all the vehicles out of the service center, as well as vehicles for Cherry Hills Village and Sheridan. And they pay us via our intergovernmental agreements. And so again, our salary and benefits here are kind of the big number there that is returning the funds back. Some major accomplishments, and we'll go over all the accomplishments, but our big one, getting that South Inglewood flood reduction up and running, that is huge. We also, and we'll talk about this at the end a little bit more, and I think Kevin may have already given you a little bit of insight there into the paving with the increased tax. We paved over 10 miles utilizing that. We started Dartmouth Bridge, another project that's been out there for a long time. That's well underway at this point. And we received over $1 million in matching funds from Mile High Flood Districts for various studies and grants for flood improvements and stormwater projects.
Is there a kind of a prioritization for the repaving? Is it based on the current condition of that particular stretch of road?
Yes. Yeah, so what we do, we have what's called a pavement condition index, or PCI. So it scans, it looks for cracks, potholes, and it rates each road. And we do it by zone, and we can go out of order, but we try and go in order for each zone and hit those streets. So some will get what's called a mill. So you probably saw that on Broadway this year if you drove it. We milled it inlaid, so we scraped off the top 1 to 3 inches and then put a fresh coat of asphalt. We also do what's called a slurry seal, where we put a coat on top with a tack. It's like a asphalt liquid, and it reseals it. So it depends on the condition. That defines the treatment. And we have zones in the city, and we try and hit each zone in a certain order here so that we're distributing improvements equally throughout the city. But if we have a street that's falling apart in a zone that's not on the list, we'll absolutely take care of it based on that pavement condition index. So a little more detail here on engineering and capital projects. So as I mentioned, we got the Dartmouth Bridge. We also completed pedestrian improvements via a grant over at Malley. That's new curb ramps, what's called a rectangular rapid flashing beacon. You push it, it lights up so people know you're crossing the road. We completed concrete restoration zones 1 and 5, including over 160 ADA ramps. We did our slurry seal in zone 1. Annual mill that included zone 5, as you know, most of Broadway, Dartmouth, and Floyd Avenue, and completed the Floyd and Elodie intersection improvements. We also used the millings from our project to put down in alleys to stabilize those alleys and eliminate a lot of the mud and regrading that we see in the alleys. We got over 50 of those done this year, and we're going to continue that this year with our paving project. And we repaved over 10 miles of roadway, as mentioned. Stormwater, we mapped the north side of the city in 2023. And as I touched on earlier, in 2024, we're going to map the south side and clean and televise that. Mentioned this already. We started something with flood reduction. We cleaned with our stormwater team over 390 inlets that were in various conditions of clogging. You can see the picture there. Actually, the upper right is our team out there with our back truck. They're cleaning out an inlet so that it can flow at the highest rate possible to get that water into the pipes and out of the road. We also removed over 130 cubic yards of debris in the southwest greenbelt, which is the bottom picture. Again, another project that had not been tackled for a number of years. Well overdue. Our stormwater team did that. So, and then the matching funds, Mile Flood District. For operations and maintenance, we got the crack seal. We started our street sweeping again, performed alley maintenance. We updated our snow and ice policy. It's all on the website. Rec center shut down and repairs there. We continue to work on lighting repairs around Civic Center out and about, but we did upgrade all the lights around on the exterior of the building to LED. Coordinated halo devices in the library. That's associated with our meth incident early in 2023. And then we replaced all the sinks in the Civic Center as well that were well past life. For traffic operations, not 100% done, but installing new overhead street name signs with our new logo, including better retro reflectivity so that they can be seen from far away. We did install over 2,900 city logos on street name signs for neighborhoods, and then conducted a ton of traffic studies and evaluations. We get requests all the time for four-way stops, or hey, can I get a turn arrow? And there's criteria for that, so we collect data and then we'll run that analysis and then perform the update as necessary in the field. Next, City Center Property Management. It's formerly known as EAF. You guys familiar with EAF? Heard that term a time or two? So the EAF property, I apologize, I don't have a map in the slide. So it's this building area, and then it extends out in the city center area. So it includes things like snow removal, sidewalk repair, and we work with the property owners in the area. So we refreshed the landscaping in and around. We had a number of light poles that needed repairs, either vehicular damage or pedestrians messing with electrical stuff. And then we had a bunch of exterior improvements as well in the area that we implemented this year in 2023.
Speaking of signage, does your department oversee the neighborhood signs? I've been seeing more and more of those popping up.
We collaborate heavily with those, but that's actually run through our communications department. Okay. So we are engaged in helping permitting and locating neighborhood signs. We have our gateway signs. You'll start seeing those. The one on 285, if you're coming westbound, right there at the King Supers, that's one of our new major gateway signs that just got put in. Looks really good. So our challenges that the department faced, staffing, retention and filling. I would say it's mostly filling, not a whole lot of retention challenges, but we did lose a few folks to some surrounding jurisdictions. And then aging infrastructure. This goes to the bridge. Dartmouth Bridge is a great example. Well overdue for replacement. That's why we're doing it. But our roads, some of our storm drainage needed some love, and so we're tackling all of that. So obviously those things aren't necessarily super fast. However, they are expensive. So trying to balance that, hit the high priorities, making sure things are safe, and then trying to meet our vision and the strategic plan goals. And then grant-funded project administration. So grants are fantastic. We love matching dollars, but we also have to look at the additional requirements that come with them. We take federal dollars, you now have to federalize the project, and it adds an additional layer of requirements. And there's a tipping point. And so we try and evaluate every project, is it worth the grant funds matching versus the headache, because we'll have to hire consultants to help us. Because we don't necessarily have all the in-house experience to manage the grant requirements. So we look at that on every grant and make sure that we're being good stewards of the public's matching dollars. All right, our top 3 capital projects, we touched on those. And then the dedicated sales tax. And I believe Kevin touched on this a little bit before, but we got that increase in 2022. It was split. Public Works received pretty close to $2 million in addition to our normal budget there to do paving and management of roadways, roadway repairs. That's what's really allowed us to extend our budget, get out in Broadway, Dartmouth, and some of those roads. So we feel like we tackled it really well this year, and we look forward to continue to do so next year and thereon moving forward. So just as this is a breakdown of what we did in each zone. So zone 5, 4 major roadways there. Zone 3, we hit Mansfield. Zone 2 with Sanford and Broadway. Next year, we're going to finish Broadway. We left out, you may have noticed, the kind of business district. That was higher rated than the rest of Broadway. So we chose to delay that 1 year, and we're coming back this year to tackle that, in addition to a bunch of other roads. And with that, I'll take any questions, comments, whatever you got.
I have a question going back to enterprise funds.
Sure.
SURF.
Okay.
I'd like to understand that revenue cycle a little better.
Okay.
Because you spoke about PD vehicles, for example. I know it's a small fund, but
Right.
I guess who are our customers? How do we generate the revenue for that fund? It wasn't really clear to me.
Yeah, so when we buy a vehicle, what we do is we have the initial cost of the vehicle. So and I'll use PD, and I might get the number off. I believe PD is on a 3 to 5 year cycle for vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's a $50,000 vehicle and it's on a 5 year cycle, they pay in $10,000 every year.
Okay.
So that at year 5, when we get time to replacement, there's money there to replace it. Now we try and account for inflation. We also have some vehicles, and it's not just PD, it happens to everybody, where the maintenance costs exceed what's reasonable. So it's either a life cycle or a maintenance cost can, I'll say, bump a vehicle out of service and need for replacement.
What other types of equipment fall into
And to serve.
surf?
Yeah, so snowplow trucks, we have what's called yellow iron, things like backhoes, graders, those are big pieces of equipment. You'll see those in surf, motorcycles. Trying to think of what else.
Is there anything without motors and wheels that fall in that category?
I don't think so. Jenny, you're not aware of anything, right? I think everything has motors.
For the most part, yes.
Yeah. I do think there could be some pumps in there where they have motors. We have some large pumps that we maintain and keep for stormwater and things like that. Those are in there. So things that we anticipate using and that have motors and wheels that need replacement at some point in time are in surf. Now, we do have some older vehicles that are not in surf because they predated it. And as those fall out and get replaced, the new vehicles land in surf. So we work through the budget process to identify that and say, hey, you know, you're replacing a vehicle that wasn't in surf with the one that's in, so the department needs to budget to pay into it.
Just as a matter of clarity, how long has surf, been around?
That is a great question. I don't know the answer.
Long time.
Were you, Kevin?
Wondering which vehicles,
Yes.
Probably 30 or 40 years.
So we have some like 30 or 40-year-old vehicles? Or,
Well, I'll say we have some pieces of equipment that are
okay,
30 to 40 years old or older.
Aging infrastructure.
Actually, what SURF does is helps us provide funding to, recirculate,
Right.
provide new and get rid of all really.
Yeah.
It's a tool that the city wisely implemented as a way of, being disciplined about setting aside money for equipment replacement like this.
The other thing we do is when a vehicle ages out, we send it to auction and that money goes back to the department as a credit to their surf balance. So like a PD vehicle, again, that $50,000 number, say it goes to auction for 10 grand, that 10 grand would be credited to the department to their surf balance and then be recalculated. So yeah, the idea is that there's a pot of money, so there's not a scramble budgetary wise of, we need new vehicles. So trying to be proactive and forecasting.
It was the enterprise fund component that threw me off a little bit.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So yeah, that all the surf money returns, any balance returns back to the surf budget, doesn't actually go back to general.
The insurance and such for the vehicles and equipment doesn't come out of that fund though, does it?
No, I do not believe insurance comes out of that.
That's not about the department's individual. Any other questions?
I have a couple questions. On the personnel issues, shortages, labor shortages, are we there now with the 4 new hires?
No, I need to run a calc. I believe we're probably around 10 to 12% vacancy at the moment. We have a number of frontline streets workers, a number of custodians. We hope to make an offer for the city engineer. Our previous incumbent was not a good fit for the organization, so we went back out on the street. We just completed our second round of interviews yesterday for that. So I believe we're trending in the right direction. Ultimately, I'd like to see our vacancy below 10% inside Public Works. Some of our challenges on the front line is just that competitiveness with salary. We're competing against the private sector, and it can be tough, especially if it's folks who are maybe younger in their career and they're just looking at the hourly rate only and not the whole package. So we really try and stress the benefits because the city has an amazing benefits package, but not everybody's interested in looking at the whole package. It's like, what's the hourly rate? And then they make their decision so fast. So.
And we'll continue to fill those gaps with contract labor.
Correct. Yeah, some of those positions, we have to get things done. We can't just say, oh, we don't have anybody and not do them. Now, we would like to do probably more of certain things if we had the staff. And so we're not able to, I'll say run it 100% with contractors. We maybe run it at like 80 or 90% or something like that.
One concern and then a few acknowledgements. Issues around bike lanes. When I ride my bicycle through Denver, I just ride in the traffic because they've put parked cars, a bike lane, and then the sidewalk. And so you get people opening doors out of their Ubers and stepping into the bike lane. And so it's safer for me to ride in the road.
Yep.
And so I hope that we don't plan to do those, but I know there's a lot of discussion at City Council, so I'll try to come and show something. And then the roundabouts, you know, how can we improve awareness and how can we make drivers better drivers? And maybe outside, of course, your work, but maybe we need to set up more policing.
Well, and I think we need a better, better's maybe not the right term, we need more education. So we like to think of the 3 E's when it comes to Vision Zero. So you got education, enforcement, and engineering. Enforcement is PD. Engineering and education is, you know, the city, public works, working with communication. So engineering, making sure the design meets all the criteria, it's safe. We're taking and looking at the best designs that are coming out of, you may have heard of NACTO. They have a lot of great design criteria.
Okay.
So we're looking at all those things and trying to design that environment that's comfortable for everybody to ride in. So I personally prefer when I bike to take the travel lane, but if I'm with my kids,
Well, that's.
we're on the
sure.
sidewalk.
Understand, absolutely. And I get
Yeah.
that people are all moving at different speeds, so
Yeah.
understand it. And you guys have put in some great bike lanes, so thank you.
Sure.
You know, I also like that you mentioned sort of the funding side. And, you know, I think Inglewood does an awesome job in public works and have sort of locally run infrastructure where we can make autonomous decisions.
Yeah.
And I think you all have done a great job.
I appreciate that.
You know, also one other question, stormwater, those improvements will be done this year?
So the South Inglewood flood reduction is on schedule. Site B, which is our big pond, is on schedule to be done this year. Of course, weather pending, but they are well underway. All the buildings have been demoed. They're currently digging. And Site B, that pipelining, which was a huge push for us because we're coming up on the spring weather, which is nice, until this room gets hot. So we're expecting some rain, and so we want to make sure that pipe is solid. None of us want to be in the news again for another sinkhole in Oxford or in that area, so.
Cool. And, you know, finally, you know, the equipment and maintenance, I mean, that's a great way for us from a budgetary standpoint to maybe extend some of those useful lives, right?
Yeah.
And maybe 40-year-old equipment still works and runs. Maybe, you know, 40-year-old pump's better than a brand new one, I don't know, but.
Yeah, we have a snow thrower, it's probably 30 years old.
Okay.
So this year it hasn't been used, but last year when we had that period where we got snow and then it just stayed at like 30 to 32 degrees for like weeks, that thing was indispensable. I mean, we were able to break ice up and put it in the snow thrower and it would throw it into the back of one of our salt trucks and then we could haul it off. And it is a very old piece of equipment, so we had to change out some fluids and get some new hoses, but ran great.
Well, you all did a great job on plowing the streets this spring. And the
Weather helped
trucks-
us too,
And the
but yeah.
trucks looked like they were in really good shape.
Yeah, and those are our new trucks. So we're super excited to have those. The team is really jazzed. They have better technology for spreading material and getting it out there. They also were able to, it's called pre-wetting, so they're able to hit it with a liquid that helps it stick and activate better. They also carry more because it's a tandem axle, so the weight capacity's up. So very nice pieces of equipment, and the team is really happy to have them and helps them do their job much more efficiently.
More comfortable too.
And more comfortable, right?
Yeah. And thanks for paving Broadway. It's really nice.
Yeah. A little more to go.
I know.
We'll get it this year.
I know where the bumps are.
I think most of us as Inglewood residents know that alleys are a very popular topic of conversation if you've lived here for any length of time.
Yep.
I actually don't have a dirt alley, so I'm relaying questions I get from others. But the initiative 2B did not include anything for alleys. That was strictly for street maintenance. Is that correct?
Right, but we are able to leverage the millings from that
Okay.
and
so-
put those in alleys.
Okay.
Now, last year, we did propose an alley paving project in the 2024 budget. This was proposed in 2023. That did not make the priority list. We just have too many competing priorities. So we'll likely try and propose that again.
Okay.
But the millings, we've had really good success. And I mean, from a cost effectiveness standpoint, we're really getting a great bang for our buck. This is only year 2, so we'll see how they hold up. But we've gotten great feedback from the community about how great it is to have their alley, you know, roto-milled, paved, so quasi-paved maybe.
I love the alleys because I can run in them and I feel like there's some place for the water to go to.
Yeah.
And you go up to Denver and everything's concrete.
So we,
So I won't vote for that one, I will say. Sorry.
well, the millings still just work.
I'm agnostic on the whole
Okay,
dirt
okay,
or
all right.
I'm just asking to understand the process here better. And in terms of grading, does that happen at least once annually? Do you try to get to each stretch of alley or?
So we did them all in 2022 and 2023. And now we're in kind of a review, inspect, and then grade. We do try and grade them before the millings go down. So if the alley's slated, to just make sure we have positive drainage, because we don't want to put millings on top of bad grading. That's not helping anybody. So we want it graded right, and then we want to put the millings down. So we're not going around and regrading every alley. So right now, we're looking for alleys that have problems, alleys that are brought to us through the Q alert system, and addressing those and prepping for millings.
Make sure you have a nice smooth running surface, Peter.
You know, I like a few bumps in it. I love that.
Oh, you do?
I was saying,
Okay.
sometimes I'll ride my mountain bike down them too.
There were kids on dirt bikes in the alley in my neighborhood last night. Dirt bikes. I don't have an alley either. I don't have one at all, but around the corner.
And yours.
Motorized dirt bikes, I assume.
Do you like?
I never use it.
Like,
I pull it from the front.
Just running through
Kids,
there.
dirt bikes, yeah.
I've noticed, I can't say always, but I do notice that sometimes with new developments, not, just homes and stuff like that, like sometimes there'll be a stretch of concrete there. Is that something the city requests that they do?
It's a requirement.
Yeah, is it a
It's in the
requirement?
development standards, yeah, that they pave that section.
Yeah.
So if we were to implement an alley paving project, we would certainly look to stretch dollars and look at areas that had maybe a half paved alley and, no one redeveloped. So you got this weird mix of concrete, asphalt, and the city might come in and pave it. So that'd be a way to make those dollars go a little bit further.
You said there is a queue line that people can reach your department if they have concerns about their particular stretch.
Actually, so there's an app called IngleFix.
Okay.
You can download and, you can submit any request. It could be trash, it could be sign down, it could be, hey, this traffic signal's not working. It could be, hey, my alley's a hot mess, I need you to come check it out.
There's some random guy running
Some
down my
random guy
alley.
running in my alley, I think he's trash.
I have plugged IngleFix several times in these meetings.
Yeah.
Whether it's Public Works or code or what have you.
It's a great app.
Yeah.
So it goes in and then it gets routed to the appropriate department depending on what the request is. So alley grading would come to my streets team and then they would go out and evaluate it and then respond and address it in the field. You can also go through the city's website. So you got IngleFix and then it's the same thing, but it's on the city's website. You can submit through, I think it's called Q alert on the website. But it all goes to the same spot and then it all gets routed to the appropriate department.
Jay, did you have your hand up?
So James asked most of the questions that I wanted to ask. I will acknowledge that the pavement that was redone on Stanford looks great. I live right near there, so that was a really great project. But I guess if I were to ask another personnel question, do you feel as if you have the budget necessary to kind of fight the trend of kind of losing people to other jurisdictions and or the private sector?
Great question. I would say on the professional side, I think we're doing pretty good. I think on the frontline side, and we're actually looking at some numbers now, there could be an opportunity to adjust pay scales to remain competitive. But that's a conversation with HR because we want to make sure we're equitable throughout the organization. And so we're trying to look at it through that lens as well. So I guess I don't have a yes or no answer for you, but I think generally yes. And we're looking at other opportunities there to have higher retention rates.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Can we go back to, I think it's 2 or 3 slides to the sales tax?
Sure.
'Cause that's a topic of discussion right now. So I guess, I'm speaking on behalf of myself, but as a group, we're reviewing this now. I would like to see more granularity in how those funds are being spent on each of the projects. So maybe the next one where those were outlined. Yeah.
Yep.
Because I think on the spreadsheet we received, it just showed how all these projects cost $2 million. But I'm interested in seeing how much pavement zone 5 costs, how much pavement zone 3 costs, and so on. Or even each check mark.
We can try and get that breakdown for you. So it was all one contractor. I'd have to
Uh,
look at the bid and see if they broke it down in that manner.
Mhm.
So we can absolutely get you more detail and
Yeah,
happy to share that.
because my observation was the amount of sales tax revenue was a 1-to-1 match to the cost of those projects. And
Well, and we
Yeah.
did actually add projects as we went through the year.
mhm,
So we, working with finance, we knew this money was coming in. And so we worked with our contractor and we actually did some change orders and added things throughout the process to
Mhm.
say, hey, we've actually got money to do more. Let's do more.
mhm.
You know, that's why the money's here. It's here to improve the roads and improve the pavement. And then we also had money in public works that this was added to in addition to that. So
Yeah,
we
so-
tried to spend the sales tax first and then tackle the other monies.
And that's, I guess, what I'd like to see, I know you want to chime in, is where the sales tax end and then the, I'll say general fund, but, you know, the department budget jumps in.
And to that point, I think this, especially in these first couple of years, is gonna be a point of interest for the public, and that'll help us bring that sort of document, that spreadsheet more into public communications material that can help communicate to the public how we're actually using those funds.
Yeah, we'll coordinate with the finance team and get that for you.
Okay,
Yeah, happy to do it.
thanks. Is the group in agreement? I didn't mean to speak on behalf of everybody, but it's just me. Okay.
I just wanted to kind of understand a little bit more about, with the additional pavement that we were able to do, how much further out you felt we were able to get. And I guess, you know, if there's maybe a percentage of, hey, we were actually able to increase the amount of pavement we did versus previous years.
Okay, yeah, we can get to that. So it'll probably be in lane miles. That's gonna be the equivalent of what we would normally do. Because if you look at like Broadway versus Dartmouth, right? Broadway is a 4-lane road, Dartmouth is a 2-lane road for the most part. So we would break that down into like percent lane mile, you know, how much more we were able to do. So we can get that for you as well.
Thank you.
Anything else from anybody? All right, well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you guys. Great questions, and we'll get that information and appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right, so we got members' choice now. I had a couple more administrative things, but does anybody have anything before I speak up? So on the kind of a feeding off that we were talking about with the sales and use tax, so thank you, Suzanne, for putting that together in a terrible spreadsheet, and I know Jenny and Tyson, you for your help. I am one guilty of not having made updates to it, so I was thinking if we ask everybody by the meeting by the 23rd, is that acceptable to staff? To have their comments in? Okay. Is that fair to everybody? Okay.
Yes.
Cool. And then I know Jenny had sent out some emails, but just to kind of summarize or to reiterate. So Suzanne's leaving us, forcing out despite efforts to try to keep her. So she just needs to come as a different name now. So her term ends in July, she's termed out. Unfortunately, which is a loss to the committee for sure. Peter's probably planning to reapply, sounds like?
Yes.
Yeah. So, and then we'll need to do a vote to have Navon become a voting member. But we do that, what, in June or July?
Yep, we can do it whenever, but yeah,
Oh, okay.
makes sense.
Okay. And then, I think, and then is it June, it's July when we vote for chair and vice chair?
Yeah.
So we keep thinking of that too, because I've done my 2 years as chair, so I plan to hang out for a little while longer on the committee. So if anybody's interested in those things, start considering that. Yeah, that's all I had. Anything else? All right, then I think we're all done. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for the extra meeting and accommodating us.